Have you ever been in a conversation that suddenly turned into an argument? One moment, you're just sharing your thoughts. The next, your voice gets louder. Your chest feels tight, and afterward, you wonder, did I sound rude? Did I come off as a jerk? Did I really mean to argue like that? We've all been there, with a friend, a family member, a coworker, or even a stranger online. We care about something, we speak from the heart, and sometimes, that passion comes out the wrong way. But here's the thing, arguments aren't always bad. They happen because we care. Because we want to be understood. Because what we're saying matters. The problem isn't the argument. It's how we argue. So let me ask you, what if you could disagree with someone, without hurting them? What if you could stand your ground, without raising your voice? What if you could share your truth, and still stay soft? In this episode, we're going to talk about how to argue without sounding like a jerk. How to stay calm, when things get tense. How to speak with strength, but also with care. How to be honest, and still be kind. This is Mind in the Mirror. If you find yourself reflecting, learning, or just breathing a little deeper, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who could use a little more calm in their next conversation. Let's begin. What makes an argument feel like a fight? Arguments usually go wrong when they stop being about the actual problem and start feeling personal. When you say something like, "That's dumb," or "You always do this," it no longer matters what the original issue was. The other person feels hurt. They feel like you're attacking them, not just addressing the situation. And when someone feels attacked, they stop listening, they get defensive, they shut down. And the real problem, it gets lost. So the first step to arguing in a better way is this: don't make it personal. Keep the focus on the topic, not on the person. Instead of saying, "You never listen," try saying, "I feel like I'm not being heard." It's a small change in words, but it makes a big difference. Because when people feel respected, they're more open, they feel safe to listen. And that's where real understanding begins. Tone matters more than you think. Arguments usually fall apart when they stop being about the issue and start feeling like an attack. The moment you say something like, "That's dumb," or "You always do this," the actual problem takes a back seat. What the other person hears isn't the point you're trying to make. They hear that they're being judged or blamed. And when someone feels attacked, they stop listening, they put up walls, they defend, withdraw, or shut down. Meanwhile, the real issue, it gets buried. That's why the first step to arguing better is simple. Don't make it personal. Keep the focus on the topic, not the person. Instead of saying, "You never listen," say, "I feel like I'm not being heard." It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything. Because when someone feels respected, they're more likely to stay open. They don't feel the need to fight back. They feel safe enough to listen. And that's where actual understanding starts. Listen to understand, not to win. Let's be real. Most of us don't actually listen when we're in an argument. We're just waiting for our turn to talk. We're planning our next line, hunting for that perfect gotcha moment, to prove a point. But if you're only listening so you can win, you've already lost something more important: the connection. So what should you do instead? When the other person is speaking, just listen. Don't interrupt. Don't jump in with a counterpoint. Let them finish. Then try saying something like, "So what I'm hearing is," and repeat what you think they meant. That simple move shows you were actually paying attention. It shows you care about what they're trying to express. And here's the thing, when someone feels truly heard, they're much more likely to listen to you too. Listening well doesn't mean you agree with everything they say. It just means you respect them enough to hear them clearly. And sometimes, that's all it takes for someone to drop their guard and open their heart. Stay curious, not cruel. A lot of arguments get messy because we stop being curious. Instead of wondering what the other person actually means, we jump to conclusions. We assume they're just being difficult, or they only care about being right. And the second we make those assumptions, we stop listening for clarity. We start listening for flaws. But what if we didn't assume the worst? What if instead, we asked gentle questions like, "Can you help me understand what you mean?" Or "What made you feel that way?" These kinds of questions can shift the entire tone of a conversation. They calm things down. They create room for a real human exchange, not just a defensive back and forth. Curiosity builds connection. It shows that you're not there to win. You're there to understand. And honestly, it's hard to stay angry at someone who's genuinely trying to see you. Because when we feel understood, we feel safe. And when we feel safe, the walls start to drop. And that's where real change begins. Use I statements, not you blame. Let's say something upsets you, and you want to talk about it. Totally normal. But how you start that conversation matters more than most people realize. If you lead with you always, or you never, it instantly feels like blame. It backs the other person into a corner. And once someone feels attacked, they're not thinking about what hurt you. They're thinking about how to defend themselves. That's where things go sideways. The focus shifts from the actual issue to your delivery. But there's a better way to get heard. Start with I statements. Say things like, I feel hurt when this happens. Or I need help understanding what you meant. Or even just I'm feeling confused about this. Now you're sharing your experience instead of throwing accusations. It's softer, it's clearer, and it opens the door for an actual response instead of a defensive reaction. When someone doesn't feel like they're under attack, they're more likely to stay present, to actually hear you. And that's where real understanding begins, when both people feel safe enough to talk, and safe enough to listen. Know what you're arguing for. Sometimes we get so deep into an argument that we forget why we even started. Are we trying to be right? Trying to win? Trying to make the other person feel wrong? Or are we just hoping to be heard? Hoping to understand each other? Hoping to actually solve something together? Before you speak, take a small pause. Ask yourself, what do I want to happen from this? If your goal is to connect, not to win, you'll notice a shift. You'll speak more calmly. You'll choose your words with care. You'll actually listen, not just wait for your turn. Arguments driven by pride or ego usually leave everyone feeling worse. But arguments that come from care, a real desire to understand, can do the opposite. They can bring people closer. So next time things start to get tense, take a breath. Think about what really matters in that moment. Because at the end of the day, how you argue often matters more than what you're arguing about. Take breaks if you need to. Not every argument needs to be solved right away. Sometimes you're too tired, too angry, or just too emotionally drained to keep going. And that's okay. In those moments, the best thing you can do is pause. Say, can we take a break and talk about this later? Not to avoid the conversation, but to return to it with a clearer head and a calmer heart. Taking a break doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you care enough not to say something you'll regret. It means you're choosing patience over pressure. Because let's be honest, we've all seen how rushing through conflict, trying to solve it in the heat of the moment, usually just makes things worse. We often treat arguments like battles that have to be fought and won on the spot. But sometimes the most loving move is to step back, to be quiet, not as a form of distance, but as a form of care. Silence doesn't always mean disconnect. Sometimes it says, this matters to me, I want to handle it the right way. And that kind of quiet love, it can speak louder than any perfect words ever could. It's okay to disagree. You don't have to agree with everyone. And honestly, you won't. No matter how clear your point is, or how deeply you care, some people are just going to see things differently. That's not a failure. That's life. The goal of every argument doesn't need to be winning. It should be understanding, learning something, maybe seeing the other person more clearly, maybe seeing yourself more clearly, too. Just because someone doesn't change their mind, doesn't mean the conversation was pointless. It means two people showed up with their own stories, their own perspectives, and tried to meet somewhere in the middle. That's part of being human. We're not all meant to think the same way. So even if the other person walks away believing exactly what they believed before, take a moment to check in with yourself. Ask, was I kind? Was I open? Did I listen? Even when I didn't agree, did I speak with care? Not just out of frustration or pride. If you can answer yes to those questions, then you didn't lose. You grew. And that kind of growth, the quiet kind that happens inside your heart and your head, is way more powerful than winning any argument. Because growth sticks with you. Pride fades. Closing thoughts. Arguing without sounding like a jerk doesn't mean staying quiet. It means speaking with care. It means holding your ground without trying to knock someone else down. It's knowing what you believe, but choosing not to weaponize your beliefs. Can you speak with fire in your heart, but still keep your words gentle? Can you be firm without being cruel? The next time a conversation starts to heat up, try this. Pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, am I building something with my words, or breaking something down? It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. This has been Mind in the Mirror. If this made you think, reflect, or just breathe a little softer, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who wants to grow, not just win. Until next time, stay kind, and stay curious.